Hi, so you don't like TV preachers. I'm going to make hopefully a response to help people out there to make a non-pejorative assessment of television preachers because we all have our own ideas and our own feelings. And then again, we also have considerable media that we can go to support how we feel. But to be objective, let's think about a few things. Okay, and I'll get started. I'm blessed that in my religious formation, I went to, I took my studies from the University of Waterloo and I majored in religious studies. So I had to study all the religions, or the major ones, and then we did minor religions and philosophy, sociology, and then we would do um, theology. And I did some of it from the Roman Catholic Church. I did some of it from Huguenot. So I got a variety of understandings from different people. And one thing I learned is not to think that you know everything. And let's look at not only theology from different angles, but okay, let's look at people and ideas from different angles. So I'll start with there are people who would say, okay, well, I like 100 Huntley Street, but um, I don't like Jim Baker. Let's start with that. So, did you know that uh, when uh, when Jim Baker got into trouble for overselling his timeshare units, that I remember David Maines and his brother-in-law went down to Heritage USA and taped some shows there to give them a hand. So they don't have this hostility between Huntley Street and many of these other ministries that you might think that perhaps they should. But these are people that actually know each other. If you like Billy Graham, uh, you might want to know that he and Jim Baker were great friends. And Billy Graham would frequently appear on the PTL club back in the 80s. Okay, just to say that these are actual people, and you might just think that these are, oh, charlatans. Jim Baker, he went to his Bible school with the Assemblies of God, as far as I know, and that's where he did his early ministry. I know that he and Tammy Baker were in youth ministry, and I've seen pictures of puppet shows that they would do and that kind of thing, and they built it up from scratch. And I guess sometimes when you become famous, it can get to your head, and when you're around, when you are popular, you can also find yourself among people with perhaps not quite so good an influence on you. That being said, I'll move from Jim Baker. Um, how about I have seen some ministries that I actually like to watch their videos, but what I found very upsetting was that they lumped categories of preachers together with preachers that have nothing to do with them, that don't even think that or believe the same thing or preach the same thing. For instance, let's say, and we all know, there are preachers on the TV that they're loan sharks. They're not loan sharks. They're lone rangers. They're not affiliated with anybody. It's just them. That's a good sign that nobody is willing to affiliate with them. But I've seen a clip of this one guy, and then next thing you know, I see a clip of another guy that is part of a very large group. that has Bible colleges, has mission societies, they have Christian schools. You know, I mean, it's not like you have this one guy that's just goes around making videos and raising money all the time, to a person that, well, this person preaches prosperity, but you don't see him even ever asking for money. But they put them in the same boat just because all you TV preachers are bad. So I don't like that. Consider if a preacher is part of a larger organization, and these organizations even have um, society, not societies. They have organizations that they can be a member of that sort of self-police Christian organizations, such as the Evangelical Society for Financial Accountability. I might be saying the name wrong, but we have these kinds of communities as well. If your epistles are being read of all men, okay, that's a different story. Now you could still disagree and perhaps, okay, well, I don't, like what they preach, and um, I understand that. Okay, so notwithstanding, here's something else. You can expect the non-Christian media to make up and lie and do everything they can because to discredit any preacher. They hate us. So if I'm going to research, the one thing I'm not going to go to is them. Um, I don't trust the secular media. If you watch CNN and then you watch Fox, it's like the world is two completely different places. They just don't match at all. So you have one group that hates the president, that's trying to take him down. They can never say a good word about him, and they misrepresent the things that he says. And then you have this other group that loves him, that he can't do anything wrong. So no, media bias, I'm not going to go there. The other one is, oh, you'll find testimonies of disgruntled employees of an organization. Okay, I would think the weight of one disgruntled employee should be matched to 4 employees that are happy. Well, where would you find information like that? Perhaps if you really want to discover what a ministry is about, instead of focusing on the preacher, why don't you get a few copies of their magazines that they put out? Read the literature, read the tone of it. Is the tone of it hustling you for money? Do they, because these publications cost a lot of money to produce. So are they really putting their heart into these things? Do they care about the people that they're talking to? Because if they don't, they could really just put out a very, 1, 2, 3 kind of flyer once in a while to try and re-excite you to give more money. But do you find that the stuff that they're putting out is actually for the purpose of helping the people and blessing the people that they're talking to? Okay. So that's something that we should look at as well. If a organization has its own Bible schools and the people are happy going there, I mean, that's another plus, just to think, okay, well, this ministry isn't hustling for money. Most organizations don't make money off of Bible schools. They don't. They're not money makers. They actually could lose money. Um, okay, so something else. In my own experience, and probably maybe even yours, maybe you know somebody who knows somebody who knows people that work for a ministry, or that if you know the people that actually like the ministry, why? I'll give you some of my own. I hear so much, oh, this and that about Benny Hinn. Okay, well, who am I to the Hinn family? My parents, in their insurance business, used to insure first cousins of Benny Hinn. Maybe even before Benny even, well, no, probably he was in Canada, but he would have been a teenager at the time living in living near the Fairview Mall in Toronto. And Benny Hinn's youngest brother used to date one of my friends in youth group at well, it was youth group and then the young adults group. Um, I used to be I was friends with Benny Hinn's first cousin George, and when I was a teenager, he and I would go out to the docks and to Toronto to hand out tracts and evangelize. Now, he was a very committed Christian. Unfortunately, he passed away. Philanthropist, loved the Lord, great guy, and he got saved through his cousin Benny's ministry. My mother's aunt, Florence, was Benny Hinn's discipler when he first got saved. So to think that, oh, he's this guy that just decided that he's going to become a preacher and then hustle people for money, that's not true. And a lot of people, just even small church people, know Benny Hinn, are friends with Benny Hinn. In the Toronto pastoral community of churches that probably people that don't like TV preachers would approve, these are also people that are firsthand people who know Benny. Okay, so um, I met Benny once, and he was friendly and engaging and like an ordinary guy. In fact, I didn't try to talk to him. He went out to talk to me. He was pastoring a church in Florida, and after the service, he was talking to some other people, and he saw me, and I guess never saw me in his church before, and he just asked me, "Where have I seen you before, brother?" And I told him I knew his cousin George, and we just chat a little bit. He was he's an ordinary guy. A lot of people don't like Kenneth Copeland. So, okay, media attention, very bad. Probably the impression is that, well, how come Kenneth Copeland would have jets? And I've seen some people say, oh, well, he's got all of these jets. Well, no, what has happened was, he got his first propeller aircraft, and then he fixes it up, gives it to another ministry, and believes God for another airplane. And he believes God for, that without bothering people or trying to hustle for money, that the Lord would give him aircraft. And a lot of times, other ministries have donated towards him getting other aircraft and that kind of thing. Then he fixes it up, gives it away. So he practices what he preaches. He preaches sowing and reaping. And to think that he's got all of these aircraft, no, he's given most of them away. So now the one that he waited a long time for, and another ministry donated their airplane budget. They just gave it all to him, to his as a seed, because in the Word of Faith community, they believe in sowing and reaping. They don't believe in greed, because they've always preached that the Lord might tell you to give away everything you own, and you have to be ready to do that. You have to be willing to do that. So, for instance, you're expected to be able to hear from God in these things, and that the Lord might tell you to give this poor couple all of your furniture. And it's that kind of heart, that if you have that kind of heart, that then you'll reap what you sow. And you don't do that for the purpose of that, but you have the strength, you have the assurance that God's got your back. Okay. Um, Now, why does he need a jet plane? Well, I know that Kenneth Copeland Ministries, they lend their jet plane out to other ministries. So it's not like they use it for their exclusive functions. I'll give you one, for instance. When Billy Graham died, Kenneth Copeland Ministries lent the jet plane out to another preacher who was a friend of Billy Graham's, who was not even part of their organization. Like, they're not part of the Word of Faith, but they're still a friend. and they lent it to a friend of Billy Graham because he wasn't able to charter or to get a ticket to be there for the funeral. So KCM, Kenneth Copeland Ministries, sent their jet and their pilot to go pick him up and take him to Billy Graham's funeral. This is just one of many things that there's a lot of local ministries in Texas, and they sometimes get use of it. So it's not like this is his airplane to take him around to go to the Bahamas and vacation. Not that he can't, but um, Kenneth Copeland Ministries has an aggressive agenda, and for a guy who's 83 years old, um, and they goes to places like Fiji and like the little islands all over the world, to places where you can't normally get to, is what they're hoping to do, is that their ministry is focusing now on these small islands. Again, that's very, very expensive. If all he wanted was your money so he can enjoy it for himself, he wouldn't do that. Especially he could retire. He's independently wealthy. Um, Even early in his life, he had purchased a property, and it has natural resources on it, and he's done well with his investments. Now you might say, well, yeah, but what kind of salary does he make? Okay, so if you are um, a trusted member, you can go to some of these meetings where they actually will do their budgets and that kind of thing. It's not like he's guy that shuts everybody out. Um, Now, Kenneth Copeland Ministries has been very, very good to us. Um, we've done some volunteer work with them, and um, when my wife got sick, they're just so good to us, and they call us, and they bless us, and these are not weird people. These are actually very, very good, kind people, and I've only had good experiences with them. I visited Eagle Mountain Church. Oh my gosh, they're so nice to you. They're just, it's such a place of love. Um, yeah, if I can think of other ministries that I've had some associations with, Huntley Street, 700 Club, again, the 700 Club Canada. Um, I used to be friends with the guy leading that. I mean, are good quality. These are good Christian people, and this is not some kind of business organization trying to soak you for your money. Okay, but I do digress. And what I'm just trying to say is that talk to people who know the inside, and not just look for people who want to criticize, because they wouldn't be, if it is a big ministry, it wouldn't be a big ministry if people aren't being blessed by that. Not just what you're hearing from preachers probably that aren't successful, that are jealous and just want to say, oh, these guys are tickling your ears. There is a reason why a ministry never grows. And I don't want to be pejorative against them, because I do love small churches. Just keep in mind, when it came to Christians in the first century, remember, these were people who turned the world upside down. That's what I hope we, the body of Christ, would be, are people that can turn the world upside down. Amen.